Formula One is standing on the edge of a massive overhaul for 2026. These new cars are designed to be faster, somewhat greener, I use that word very loosely, and more efficient. But if you ask some of the sport's biggest names, this new era might not be all that speedy or thrilling. If you've been holding out for that next giant leap in performance and innovation, maybe it's time to buckle up or brace for impact. Because 2026 isn't just a new set of rules, it could rewrite F1's very DNA. And spoiler alert, not everyone's cheering.
That was mega!
Sure, the 2026 overhaul promises a greener, sleeker, and more technically dazzling future. But don't let the shiny brochure fool you. Drivers like Charles Leclerc and Lance Stroll, who've had early simulator runs, are already sounding the alarm. Their verdict? The cars feel flat, dull, and, dare I say it, downright uninspiring to drive. And if that doesn't send a shiver down the spine of a sport built on speed and adrenaline, what will? So let's get into it. Why are F1's brightest questioning the sport's direction? What's really changing under the hood? And is this new path a bold evolution or a slow death for the racing spectacle we all crave? Two drivers who rarely voice strong criticism, Charles Leclerc of Ferrari and Lance Stroll of Aston Martin, have broken their silence after testing prototypes of the 2026 cars in simulators. Both seemed genuinely disappointed by what they experienced. Leclerc, widely known for his speed and qualifying brilliance, didn't sugarcoat his response. After a session in the Maranello simulator, he described the experience as one of the least enjoyable he's had with an F1 car. While he acknowledged that the project is still in development, his concerns were hard to ignore. Leclerc pointed out two major issues: a significant reduction in downforce and a frustrating level of emphasis on energy management. Stroll, who tends to keep things low-key in interviews, echoed a similar sentiment, only in even more blunt terms. He described the upcoming generation of cars as a bit of a shame, and lamented F1's increasing focus on electric power and aero limitations. According to him, the cars feel like a scientific project rather than race machines. He voiced a wish that F1 would instead return to building lighter, more agile cars that prioritize driver input and pure speed. When drivers from different teams and personalities start agreeing that something's off, it's worth taking notice. And what they're describing points to an issue far deeper than just aesthetics or adjustment periods. Up next, we're going to unpack all of the biggest challenges facing what might become one of F1's most controversial eras yet. So don't go anywhere. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more deep dives, and drop a comment below. Will the racing survive, or are we headed for a snooze fest? One of the biggest technical changes coming in 2026 lies in the power units. F1 is shifting toward a new hybrid format that dramatically increases reliance on electric energy. While the existing hybrid systems already incorporate battery power alongside combustion engines, the upcoming regulations will push this balance further, nearly tripling the electric output compared to the current 2025 setups. On paper, this seems like a step toward a cleaner, more sustainable future. But for the drivers, it's creating a whole new world of constraints. Instead of focusing purely on racing and extracting the most from their cars on every lap, drivers will now have to engage in constant energy management. Essentially, they'll need to babysit the battery to ensure it doesn't deplete mid-lap. This issue becomes particularly problematic on circuits like Monza, where braking zones are few and far between. Since braking is one of the primary ways energy is recovered, tracks with limited braking opportunities make it harder to recharge the battery. The new regulations allow for a cap of 8.5 megajoules of energy recovery per lap, but some circuits may not even offer enough braking to reach that number. The result? Drivers may have to intentionally slow down or alter their racing line just to ensure energy targets are met. That's a drastic shift away from the full throttle, limit-pushing action that fans tune in to see. Leclerc specifically pointed out how restrictive this system feels. In his view, managing battery life mid-lap removes a lot of the thrill and spontaneity that define F1. It turns what should be a fast-paced, instinctive experience into a calculation-heavy puzzle, one that feels more like engineering than racing. The other major change lies in the car's aerodynamics. In a bid to increase efficiency and support the heavier hybrid systems, F1's governing body has mandated a substantial reduction in downforce. To achieve this, the 2026 cars will utilize something known as X mode and Y mode, two variable aerodynamic settings designed to minimize drag on straights and maximize efficiency. While this tech sounds impressive, it comes at a cost: drastically reduced grip in the corners. For fans unfamiliar with downforce, think of it as the invisible force that presses the car into the tarmac at high speeds. More downforce means more grip, especially through corners, and that translates to higher speeds, more thrilling battles, and incredible driver confidence. Stripping that away, even partially, makes the cars less agile and more difficult to control through technical sections. That might sound like a fun challenge, but according to drivers, it's actually taking away the joy of pushing the limits. Leclerc noted that the loss of grip makes the cars feel vague and detached, especially in high-speed corners. Stroll went further, suggesting the vehicles no longer feel like race cars, but experimental machines. There are also serious safety concerns, with aerodynamic parts now potentially adjusting on both the front and rear ends of the car. Any failure in the X or Y mode systems could mean catastrophic loss of grip. Imagine charging into a high-speed corner at Monza and suddenly losing all downforce due to a mode malfunction. It's a recipe for disaster. Perhaps the most important issue of all is the overall driving experience. F1 is supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsport, where the world's best drivers push bleeding-edge machinery to its limits. But these new cars, at least in simulation, appear to offer an experience that's more about managing systems than attacking corners. For drivers like Leclerc, Stroll, and even Max Verstappen, who's also voiced displeasure after simulator tests, the future feels more like a math problem than a thrill ride. Instead of focusing on racecraft, overtakes, and pushing to the absolute edge, drivers may find themselves worrying about energy charts, aero settings, and battery percentages. Stroll's term scientific project might seem sarcastic, but it's worryingly accurate. The new direction also risks robbing qualifying sessions of their magic. Historically, qualifying is when drivers show their true pace. It's pure, unfiltered speed. But with battery levels now becoming another element to conserve and plan around, even these laps may lose their all-out aggression. So, is there any silver lining? Despite all this doom and gloom, there is still some optimism among the paddock. Williams team principal James Vowles has hinted that these issues are not final. Teams are still in the early stages of development, and he believes that as designs mature and data is collected, the cars will become more refined and enjoyable to drive. Mercedes team boss Toto Wolff also remains hopeful. He has pointed out that there's still a lot of time before the first race of 2026 in Barcelona, and that many of the current concerns could be solved through ongoing development and testing. And he's not wrong. F1 has a history of adjusting regulations post-launch when necessary. It's also worth noting that every major rules overhaul in F1 history has been met with resistance at first. The ground effect regulations in 2022 were heavily criticised when first introduced, but have since led to closer racing and some of the most competitive seasons in years. So what's next? F1 teams are planning 3 major tests before the 2026 season begins: 1 closed session in Barcelona and 2 public ones in Bahrain. The Barcelona test will be conducted away from the eyes of the media, possibly to allow teams to privately sort out what could be numerous early failures. This closed-door approach might raise eyebrows, but it's standard practice when entering unknown technical territory. Don't be surprised if early testing reveals a lot of problems. Will it all be worth it? The grand vision behind the 2026 overhaul is clear. A greener, smarter Formula One that pushes closer racing and puts the spotlight back on driver skill. The plan? Strip away downforce, boost energy management, and give the true maestros of the wheel a chance to shine, especially when the corners get tricky and raw car power takes a back seat. But here's the rub. This is a high-stakes gamble. F1 risks losing its soul. The heart-pounding wheel-to-wheel battles, the breathtaking speeds through corners, the drama and sheer emotion that grip fans worldwide. If the new cars fail to deliver that magic, this so-called revolution will go down as one of F1's biggest miscalculations, an arrogant gamble that drained the sport of its soul. The good news? There's still time on the clock. Teams are knee-deep in testing, tweaking and fine-tuning, as they always do with fresh regulations. The skeptics see slower, duller racing. The hopeful? They see a revitalized grid, tighter battles and smarter racecraft. So tell me, are you betting on the doom and gloom or holding out hope for a thrilling new era?